What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Press X Podcast, episode 107, your weekly podcast for gaming news and opinions coming at you each Monday. I am Kevin McManus. With me, Nick Hassell.
I'm stuffed. I shouldn't eat before this.
I had Dunkin' Donuts. Surprise, surprise.
Had a lot of food.
Last week, we asked you guys, how long should these episodes be? Do you want them to be an hour, 2 hours? Do you care? Should we just go as long as we want? Things along those lines. We got mixed responses. We got a lot of keep them an hour. It's a good commute, amount of time.
Sure, like 30 minutes to work, 30 minutes back.
Right.
Like
a lot of people liked that. And then the other side of the spectrum was go as long as you want. And I'm a big fan of consistency. So I say, let's find kind of a happy medium. Let's try and start shooting for like the 70-minute mark, something along those lines. Obviously, some episodes, like I think like Game of the Year and episode 100 and things like that.
Lists.
I think totally.
Lists are killers.
I think those are totally fine to go long, but we're going to try to rein it in, and we're going to talk about that off camera, exactly how we're going to do that, and try to start doing that for you guys. With that said, another thing that's popped up is the YouTube Partner Program has changed. So YouTube, this is better than them doing nothing, because they've been doing nothing for about a year, and finally, I don't know if you know about this Logan Paul situation.
I do.
We're not going to get into it too much, but basically, YouTube had to change how their partner program works, and now you need to be like a top dog to be part of this partner program. And the first goal of that is 1,000 subscribers, and then you need like 4,000 hours of watch time, things like that. So, obviously, we're not close to that. But
we're not?
No, we are not. But if you want to help out, please share the video with anybody who you think might enjoy this podcast into video games, things along those lines. Engage in the comments. All that stuff helps get the video noticed and out there. And then maybe one day, we too can be partners again. But
can we blow it in tremendous fashion like all these other people do?
We probably would.
Leave that part to me and Kellen.
But as I was saying, I appreciate all the comment and feedback for the time length of the podcast stuff from last week. That being said, we're going to start our show with what we've been playing, and this is where I really think we can start reining some stuff in, because sometimes we got like the 40 minutes while we've been playing, so maybe that's where we can start.
Play a lot of games.
But Nick, let's start with
2 games this week. First one is I kept going on my Assassin's Creed Origins journey. I'm about 20 hours in, I want to say, something like that. This doesn't have one of those play times that like beats you over the head every time you save or anything like that. Really enjoy it. I love the new additions to the game. I keep saying it over and over, whether it's on here or anyone I talk to. The break that they took to kind of re-energize the series really helped.
Yeah.
I think new additions are so nice. There's like customization that you have with your main character. There's weapon choices. There's strategy. All stuff you can do on the fly. It sounds very... If you just say all that stuff, that makes you want to feel like you spend a lot of time in the menus. And if you watched our Game of the Year video, that's something I harped on over and over and over and over and over. You do go in the menus a lot, but it's real quick, real snappy. Switch this, switch that. Like I said last week, sometimes when you bust out like a spear, people put their shields up.
Yeah.
So you want to dart around them and slash, something like that. It's like a rock, paper, scissors sort of thing. So it's nice to be able to switch that stuff on the fly and not just be bogged down by a menu of the game. Also, too, started noticing now that I'm a little bit deeper into the game, has a lot of nods. Obviously, this is Origins. Has a lot of nods to some of the gimmicks, I guess, that are in some of the other Assassin's Creed games. Like, why are all these guys missing their ring finger? And why are they always jumping into hay when they, go to the ledge and get a viewpoint or synchronize? Sort of stuff. It explores those things. It's like, okay, I remember that. So that's nice. Also, game number 2, I fell back into my guilty pleasure of The Sims.
Oh,
so
wow,
Sims
that
4,
was not expected.
Anytime there's like a dead period in a year, I always find myself kind of drifting back into The Sims. That's just, like I said, it's guilty pleasure. Perfect kind of name for that genre, to be honest. Since I've played it, there's like 10 major expansions, and then just all sorts of content. So it's nice. I was talking to Todd about it earlier. Any of these games like Sims, Civilization, like it always sucks when the next one comes out because you just get the base game. Sort of like Destiny too, I would imagine. When you're playing the base game, it's like, okay, this is fun. But if you wait like 2 or 3 years, it has so much content in it that it's like 6 games in one. So
yeah, video games 2018.
So here's the 3-year mark, I guess, for me, and I'm going back and I've just got loads of content. Each time they've gone on sale, which they don't very much. EA games, especially Sims stuff, doesn't go on sale very much. I picked them up, so I've got cats and dogs now. There's kids, there's new jobs, there's all sorts of stuff for me to do. I've spent about 20 hours this week, give or take a few. I have only made characters and finished my house. Haven't even played it yet.
Do you do the cheats and just get all the money?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know anybody that doesn't do that?
No. I think there were, like, when Sims 1 and 2 were out, so when I was a lot younger, I kind of was into it. But when I'm older, I'm just like, why do I want to real life?
Fake real life.
Yeah, like, why do I want to spend my real life time struggling in the video? Like, if I'm playing a game, I want to be rich, famous, awesome, so why bother? But yeah, fun game. I'm sure I'm going to dump more hours into it. And it seems like we're on kind of we're almost to the summit of, like, fighting games. So we'll have Tekken and Street Fighter, the newly released Street Fighter, which is way more fun. Todd's into those games. You're into half of those, the ones that I mentioned. And we're going to get Dragon Ball. Dissidia's not too far away, so it seems like a good time of the year to dust off the old fighting stick and relearn those. So that'll be coming up for me, I think.
For me, I've been playing a lot of Fortnite. Obviously, bought that Battle Pass, been ranking up. I think I've probably gone up 15 plus tiers since the last episode. Working on that really hard. 70 is the final tier, and I think I'm on like 36, 37 right now. So I'm chugging along. I'm about to hit level 70 or level 60. 100 is the highest level. I don't think I care too much about getting that because I don't think you get anything for maxing out your character. Like, I don't think there's like a prestige medal or anything you get for that. So whatever. Just been playing a lot of Fortnite, getting a lot better at that game. We're going to talk about it a little bit more later in the news, so I'm not going to go too much into it, but been hitting my quota of doing my dailies every day and getting one victory royale at least a day. That's kind of what my goals have been, and I've been doing that. Next up, my big one, I've been playing Ys 8 a lot more. This is where I finally, like, really hopped into it. And boy, oh boy, am I enjoying this game. I'm having a blast. Now, here's the thing. It feels like a PlayStation 2 game that was not even remastered for the PlayStation 4. That's what this feels like. And I mean that in the nicest compliment of a way ever.
Game's got an old soul.
It feels like I'm playing Dark Cloud, which is one of my favorites. It feels like I'm playing a Kingdom Hearts. It feels like I'm playing a Final Fantasy X. Like, it really does feel like that era, but it's not made in that era. So, like, you can have all these enemies on the screen and all this stuff. Even the music feels like it's from PlayStation 1. It's got, like, that rock music that a lot of PlayStation 1 games had for some reason. And every time it's like inappropriate, like I'm running around this forest and it's like, and I'm like, all right, whatever. But it's just like a weirdly nostalgic game, even though I've never played this series before. And I'm on board. I have Ys Origins. I'm going to hop into that after I finish this one. Apparently those games are connected. I didn't know that. But there's at least character crossover for them because I Googled it. So I'm on board the Ys chain.
I feel like Octopath Traveler is going to give that same kind of feeling. Just the visuals kind of help drive that home too, but it's going to feel like you've played it before, but you haven't, sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it quite a lot. Some things that I like. I talked about how it's an interesting setting. You shipwreck on an island, so the island is what you're exploring. It's not this big town that you're doing. It's just an island. And basically, you start out recruiting people. So the first few are like party members so that you can fight with people. And then you recruit a cook to put into your base. And then you get a
I need to do that in real life.
And then you get a blacksmith. And then you get, a medicine, somebody to do medicine and somebody to all this stuff. And eventually you build out this camp. And you keep finding camps throughout the game as you play and expand. And places are blocked off by a number of people. So there's a rock, you can't move it. You need 10 people to move this rock. So until you get all 10 people in a group, you can't progress. And that's something you talked about with Horizon. And I never really thought about it, but it works so well here, is that Horizon was like, okay, now go. And it was almost like too much. And this game, I feel like, sections you off really well.
Well, in a smart way, too. It's not just like... It's not like Assassin's Creed where it has like the digital kind of...
Oh, yeah, and you just walk outside and you just like die. Desynchronized.
Yeah, and it's not like, this door is locked. This door is locked, sort of like just annoying ones. It's really sensible, like, okay, we obviously need more than just these 10 little Japanese people to lift this rock sort of thing. That's what Xenoblade did really well too, except it tied strength to some characters that you would pull. It would tie like water and jumping and things like that. So you'd be like, man, I'd love to get up there and get the treasure, but I only have 2 guys who have like air abilities. So you just have to keep rolling. Okay, there we go. Finally got some. Now I can do the jump. So it's sort of like that too, which I really like.
So that's like the overworld of the game, basically. This is an island that you're exploring. I'm having a lot of fun. It's really cool because there's no currency in the game because you're on an island.
Yeah.
So you go up to the chick and she's like, I have this fish that'll heal you for 400. I want 4 coconuts. So you got to go find a coconut tree and hit it and collect the coconut.
The old barter system, yeah.
I really like how it's done. So every item has a different value. Like this one's cherries and this one's, fish.
That's annoying, especially in Japanese games too, where you always have a menu where it's just filled with stuff and you're like, what do I do with this? And you just have like 300
like
items.
The junk stuff. Yeah, this hasn't been like that. It's not a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But like, for instance, I found a mine that had like 5 ores and I was like, ooh, I get 5 things. Like you don't get a lot because they're kind of worth a lot in value. You fish. You can then cook the meals, and they give you bonuses. Very Zelda-like, very, very similar to how the Zelda cooking works. You have to find recipes before you can make the things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm really enjoying the overworld. Now, the actual dungeon part of the game is just Zelda without puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
You go into a dungeon; they're all kind of themed. Like there's a more watery one, there's like a muddish one. Like they all kind of have a theme. Yeah. There's a lot of them. And you fight a mini boss. The mini boss gives you an item. That item lets you progress in the dungeon. Then you find the real boss. So just real simply, kill a mini boss. You get gloves that let you climb vines. You climb the vines in the dungeon. You can finish the rest of the dungeon. You get this one thing that lets you run on water. You get, so you get these abilities. It feels so much like Zelda. But like I said, without the puzzles. There's no puzzle stuff in it.
Learn a new skill and then immediately have to use it. Sort of thing.
Yeah. It's built exactly like a Zelda.
That is Zelda to a T.
Yeah. So really enjoying it. The characters are great. I just got my 4th party member, and I finally found out the name character of the in the title of the game. Finally found them. Took a little while.
Yeah.
I am story wise like halfway through it, but that doesn't mean I'm halfway through time wise because these chapters are getting longer and longer as they go. Thoroughly enjoying it. Highly recommended, and it's coming to Switch by the end of the year.
Yep.
So a great place to play it. I would have got it on Vita.
And it's delayed on PC, so...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I would have got it on Vita, because it's out on Vita as well, but there's no cutscenes in the Vita version, so I got the PS4 version. But anyway, having a blast with that game. Like I said, if you like PS2 JRPG-style games, this is that, and it's an action RPG. All real time, no cutting away to a battle or anything. Like Tales kind of does like a cutaway. It doesn't do any of that. You can just run away from the battle if you don't want to do it or whatever. Only issue with it is the lock-on feature is a little weird. Right stick controls the camera, but when in a fight, right stick changes to control what you're locking onto, and sometimes that gets confusing because you're like, I'm just trying to run away, and he keeps locking onto things.
Well, especially like you said, when there's not a clear, like, I'm running, I'm exploring, I'm adventuring, oh, now we're fighting sort of thing. If it's a snap of the wrist like that, then you could probably be caught in the middle of doing another action.
Yeah. But thoroughly enjoying it. Great boss fights, etc., etc. Let's move into the news for the week. Some weird news stories. Nothing crazy, but just a lot of like random things happen. So let's start off with the most random. Nintendo announces Nintendo Labo cardboard box for Switch. So did you see the trailer for this bad boy?
Yeah.
So this is basically the old like do-it-yourself kits that places used to make. Like they used to have the ones with like a potato, and it's like, oh, make the electricity,
sure.
and like you can make your own rocket, stuff like that.
It's like a science project.
It literally. This is that except with cardboard and string and basically household items. But the twist is you use the gimmicks on the Switch and you insert them in different parts into your box creation to create different things. So, for instance, there's a keyboard that you build all out of strings and cardboard and everything, and it works like a keyboard, but you put the infrared sensor of the Switch controller in, and it senses how far away the key is that's being pressed, and it produces a different tone for each one, so you could play it like a keyboard. There's a robot one that you build, and it's got movable arms, and it's got this huge like backpack, cardboard backpack thing, and you put the Switch controllers on your feet, so you can walk around, and it's just bizarre. No one saw this coming. The kits are I think that there's either 5 in each, or one has 5 and then the other one's the robot.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. It is $60 and $70 for these kits. So this is very expensive cardboard. Though Legos and stuff are about that price, but they're way more tangible than cardboard. What do you think about this, Nick?
Well, first off, the weird part is that they didn't announce it with their mini stream.
People would have got mad, I think.
I guess. I mean, just make it 5 minutes longer then, or 7 minutes longer, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just weird that they have like big press event, and then it's like, oh yeah, here's this other thing that's kind of big news for us.
Yeah, I think that they're worried about the reception to it. It's so like 50-50 that I think they're scared that it could just tank the whole direct if people are just making fun of it the whole time, you know.
This kind of stuff isn't for me at all.
Right, that's exactly.
This misses me by like 28 years. But I mean,
this is for two camps of people, both of which we are not, which is you when you're young, or you when you have a kid.
Yeah.
And who is young and you're like, oh, I have a Switch. My kid's always wanted to play with it. This molds those two things together, and we can have a good time, build this thing, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, we missed the boat on
I
both
think
of those.
it's way cooler than some of the stuff I played with as a kid. I mean, I would have enjoyed, if I was a little baby right now, like I would enjoy this kind of stuff because it is sort of, like I said, it's like a little science project sort of thing. So it's like, for me, it's like building Gundams or model cars or stuff like when I was a kid, or playing with Furbies or G.I. Joe or whatever it was.
I have a Furby.
Like, this kind of stuff is a little more interactive, and I don't know, it seems more fun than things I would have played as a kid. So that's cool for them. I just don't care at all. I think the prices are pretty reasonable, though.
Oh, really?
Well,
I think they're expensive.
I think anytime you get into like kids stuff, hey, adults can do this and kids can do this. That's when you're looking at like $100, $150, something like that. So I think compared to most things that are Nintendo Switch related, I mean, a Pro Controller costs more than this. So
that's true.
So I think it's reasonably priced in that respect, and I don't know. I don't really know if this is going to make a splash, but I feel like this is something you announce towards the end of the year.
For like Christmas.
Yeah, for a holiday or something like that. I don't really know what... I mean, do you get this for Valentine's Day? Like, I don't understand. So, I don't know. It's cool, sure. I just don't understand having a press event. I understand what you're saying, but... maybe just do like
they know how the internet works.
Yeah,
they jump
maybe
on
like
you.
Let's switch to what's coming up next, or what's not like video game related. What's kind of in the
what are we doing outside the world of video games? Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with everything in the age demographic. It misses us, etc. I just think it's a little strange because it is cardboard. And cardboard breaks, and cardboard's easy to, like, you're going to be wearing that robot and, like, trip. Kids are clumsy. You, trip and you break a $70 piece of cardboard.
Would much prefer to step on cardboard than Lego pieces, though.
Sure, but then on top of that, you have to have a parent who's like, oh, yeah, we can put your Switch stuff or my Switch stuff in this cardboard contraption, and I'm going to let you run around the house in it. Like, I don't know. It's going to get stepped on. Your friends are going to come over. This was the big one as a kid for me. Your friends come over and they break the stuff. Like, that would happen all the time.
Well, it still happens now.
Well, that's true. Microphone's still over there. But yeah, they come over, they break the stuff, all these things. So I think it's a little strange. I think parents might be a little hesitant, and I think the price range, it's way out of, like, impulse buy. Like, I'd much rather be like, or you can have a Super Nintendo Classic, and we'll play that together. Like, it's a little tough. I think what they're going to do is they release this, then they release the 5 kits that are in it separately for like $10 each, and then they release another one that's like themed, like a Zelda one or something like that. And then I think from there, it's either we're in or we're out. Like, we see how that went, and then we decide. So this is something I'm not expecting to be talking about again for almost the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So I will not be pre-ordering this.
Hey, at least they're trying stuff, Microsoft. So
sure. Next up, Final Fantasy 15 announced the Royal Edition. So this is the version that is coming to PC.
Yep.
This is also coming to PlayStation 4 and Xbox and all that stuff. If you already have it, it is $20, and you get basically upgraded to the Royal Edition. And then it's coming out retail, I believe, for $50. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Something like that. Yeah.
And it's coming in March. So this is Final Fantasy 15, all the updates.
Might as well be a Game of the Year edition for the most part.
Almost, but... you get all the updates. You get all the season pass content.
Yep.
You get the episode Ignis and Gladiolus and Prompto and all that stuff. You get Insomnia, which you can explore the world of Insomnia. You get access to the boat, and you can freely move to the continents by yourself. You can off-road on your car. You can do all of this stuff. That being said, they also said that they're going to. It seems like they're going to be making new episodes. So they did like Ignis and Prompto and stuff, and it seems like they're going to do episode like Luna, I believe her name was, villain McBad guy, and probably like the King or something like that. I don't know who.
Maybe even what's her name? Cindy, is that her name? The gas station
that would be cool.
Girl, mechanic.
But I imagine like. So it's a little bit strange for me because this speaks to me and that I like having the complete edition. And it's been a while since I've done this, and it has co-op now. You can play the game Comrades mode and all this stuff. So all that speaks to me, and Final Fantasy that I like second least out of all the Final Fantasies. But then they're like, there's also new content coming, and I'm like, I guess I'll just wait. But this is neat for people who have not hopped in for sure.
And it's a good buy for the PC, so you don't feel like I'm getting shafted on all this stuff that the consoles have had for years now at this point. And that box art,
it's beautiful.
For the Royal Edition, wowie. It's not as good, I think, as the Steelbook version that I got upon initial release, but this is a very close second. It looks fabulous.
I love that. I forget who the artist is, but he's done a lot of... He typically does like the background fonts for all the Final Fantasies and things like that. So, this is cool. I'm glad that they did that. I'm always a fan of bringing all the content together, releasing it. I talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
I just think it's weird that they're like, and then there's going to be more. I'm like, well.
Kind of wish it had Monsters of the Deep included.
I do too. I think it's strange. Like, even if they're just like...
I know it's separate.
And digitally, free download Monsters of the Deep. Like, it's weird because it's just an extra tag that you get to put playable in VR.
I'm obviously going to get it for PC because I think the sky's the limit as far as what it's going to look like and play like. Because I can at least trust Square Enix, I feel, when it comes to PC ports. But if they...
Near.
The main team. Fair enough. But if it had had Monsters of the Deep, I would have snap-bought it. Even though, like I said, I've already got the fancy edition.
If it had Monsters of the Deep, I would have been much more inclined as well. Because I still don't have that, and I want that.
Oh, yeah. That might have been my game of the year if I had downloaded it.
I don't think I've ever seen you more excited when they announced that game. That was awesome.
The literal only person in the, I guess, the theater, because we watched it, E3, in the theater for PlayStation's event. But I was like, yeah.
Who asked for this?
Who is that guy?
Next up, and this is going to be a fun one, Resident Evil 2 Remake. So there's a bunch of rumors that there's a Resident Evil 2 Remake about to be announced. Right after we film this, basically. We don't know what it is. I guarantee you it's been announced by now. Wasn't it cool? Isn't that sweet? I'm so excited to jump back into that world.
Future me is probably just excited beyond belief, red in the face, naked, celebrating in the streets.
Yeah. I'm super excited for this. There's been some rumors that it's a 1, 2, and 3 collection, which would be insane. There's other things that we don't know as of now, like is it first person, third person, or third person? Is it just...
And we don't know, too, is it... It might be 1, 2, and 3, but is it remake 1, remake 2, and then so like a HD 3 or something?
Or if they remade 3, and that's why it took so long.
I don't know.
I think it's probably just going to be remake 2, but I'm totally fine with that.
Because the announcement is almost tomorrow for it. It's Japanese tomorrow, so it's like 5 hours from now for us. We don't know at the moment, but I don't want to get too overhyped, but I feel like it is at least a solid... Resident Evil 2 Remake. If they do other stuff, tack it on, or like want to throw it in a package, sure.
I actually hope that it is Resident Evil 2 remade and it is VR, but it's not first person. I want the third person VR horror game. We haven't really seen that yet. I've played plenty of third person VR games. I think they're awesome. Moss is a great example. I think more people need to accept that, like, be open to the idea that third-person VR works just as well as
especially with that game, because it has tank controls. So if you keep those in, it's naturally kind of like a VR game. So I think that helps. And those games were really good about, it's third-person, but it can still freak you out as far as you hear noises and you hear stuff like sloshing around and like, where is it? And you flip the camera, there it is behind you sort of thing.
I think third-person, so it's a trade-off. First-person, you get better jump scares.
Yeah.
Easily. But, like, jump scares, a scary game. I'm going to screw up the thing. But anyway, like, you don't... Just because you have jump scares doesn't make your game scary. Like, you have to want to continue through the jump scares and all this stuff like Resident Evil 7 did. Otherwise, you're just like, this is cheesy and dumb. Third person builds atmosphere way better. You get your characters. I feel like you're way more attached to the characters because you can actually see them. Like you don't even really know what your character looks like in Resident Evil 7. You get way more attached to the characters and their emotions and how they respond to things, but you do lose the jump scare factor.
I feel like you build your defense up in third person. It's like, I feel safe, sort of thing, just because you can see around you and like, okay, well, if it's coming, I'll see it, sort of thing. But like I said, Resident Evil, at least the old ones, did a really good job of giving you that defense mechanism, but also like taking it away real fast.
Yeah.
So
no, I hope it's third person, but we shall see.
Have I showed you
probably know by now.
the fan project from before of someone putting Resident Evil 2 in like a high-def remake and in VR?
No.
I'll show you that after the show. Might change your opinion on... I know you want third person just because it'll kind of change the landscape of what people are used to doing.
People will actually give it a shot if it's a big name like that.
But whatever, just release it. I don't know. Even if it's not VR, just give me Resident Evil 2 again.
Soon. Next up, Fable. It has been long rumored that they're working on a new Fable game, that being Microsoft, and it seems like it's going to be Playground from all these leaks coming out. Lots of confirming sources saying that this is true. Playground, the Forza Horizon team, apparently has split into 2 teams, and one has been working on a new Fable as of fairly recently. They've been drawing up the idea, and allegedly Horizon's success was the put it into production move, because they were like, oh, people do want a first-person explore the world RPG thing like Horizon, let's do it.
Yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't think that beforehand, but whatever.
With the other slew of games that...
But whatever. So, new Fable. Let's talk about this idea.
I feel like Breath of the Wild would have been their catapult into like, hey, see, people still want it, you know, sort of thing, but whatever.
Anyway, do you want another Fable?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I feel kind of, I don't know a good way of saying it, but I feel like I liked 1. I liked 2 a little bit more because it was one of those, like, they took a formula and just threw a few things on it and didn't break it. But 3 was, hey, let's get creative and spunky and let's try some stuff. And it was like, okay, I'll pass. And it doesn't seem like Peter Molyneux is heavily invested in this one. No. So there's one big problem gone. But yeah, I like Fable. I don't like need it, sort of thing. Like I need Resident Evil 2 or I need some other things like Spyro to come out. But it would be nice, A, for my prediction for this year, and B, because
oh crap, Fable was on the original.
Yeah. Because I don't know, there's something nice about Fable. You're gonna get
Resident Evil tonight too, huh? Man, what a beating.
We're doing good so far. 2018 is my year, but I don't know. I just really like Fable. If Kellen were here, he'd be saying the same thing. There's something about it. It was just a nice combination of a little bit more towards like current Zelda graphics, but it was just like. It's like a European sort of game. Like everything we get Horizon is very Western. If you get Zelda, if you get stuff like that, it feels very...
We get Dreams. That's European.
Very Eastern, and it just feels like a kind of a nice mesh between them for the most part. It was really just a combination of just sort of the quests you would go on, some of the gear you'd get. Like it feels very old and ancient now compared to a lot of the open world games that you get. Like I don't think it's aged very well, so if you pop in Fable... It's just kind of like a nostalgia run. It's not like, oh, it still does this better than Horizon or Zelda or whatever.
So next question. Reboot or sequel? Do you want Fable 4? Do you want Fable prequel? Or do you just want them to go, it's Fable, relaunch like Tomb Raider did?
I think relaunch. Mm-hmm. There's like a certain amount of time.
I agree. If it's Fable 4, I'm not going to play it. So
yeah, there's like a certain amount of time that's passed. If it's one of those, I mean... Star Wars can argue this if it wants to, but like after a certain point, it's just like do something new instead of clinging on to the past sort of thing. I feel like I didn't even get like a true Fable 3, so if they just want to call it Fable 3 retry, I would take that as well. But there was a story and there was like the hero and you know sort of that stuff going on, but there's nothing really to like attach to for them to make a Fable 4. If they want to call it Fable 4. Cool.
Yeah, I just worry about like Gears 4.
Yeah.
Didn't like even Halo 4 was like not Halo 3. I think 4 is kind of a bad.
Oh, I'm real pissed about something they chose to do in 4.
And I think the only not the only reason, but Uncharted 4, I think tagging it a Thief's End, like putting that this is the last one thing on it, helped a lot. Like if it was called Gears 4, the end of Marcus Venus or something like that, like people would have been, I think, more interested.
And guess what? The most fun part of Gears 4 was playing with all the old guys, not as them or anything, but just seeing them pop up in their various cameos and stuff like that. That was the best part of the game, not all the whining young 20-year-old
millennial. Yeah, I still want to play that game.
But yeah, like, go back to Fable and just remaster it or retry it, whatever you want to do. I don't really care, but just sort of give us that same old system again. Just maybe just start from the ground up sort of thing. Obviously, it's a different group of people. It's not the same broken promises as, I guess, Fable's kind of become known for because, like I said, Molyneux's not there anymore. But yeah, just, look at some of these games. Look at what Zelda did that, lit that game on fire as far as people just giving it Game of the Year around the world. Look at what Horizon did right. Look at some of these other games and just, do that nice middle ground where it's kind of its own thing, but it lends itself to other open world, sandbox, RPG, whatever systems, but it still feels unique, like I said. So
final question, when do we see it?
So they'll probably talk about it maybe... No, I don't feel like E3 is even too early.
I think we see it at E3. I think we see a CG trailer for it.
Yeah.
We know it exists now. The cat's out of the bag.
So
I think we'll see it. And on top of that, more than anybody, I think this E3 is Xbox's to win. Like, this is the one, if they have stuff, this is where you go, Halo 6. Yeah. The problem is I don't want Halo, Fable, Forza, Gears. Like, that's always kind of been their thing. And
well, I want that. I just want more. I want more in the wheel.
Yeah, it's weird because for me, I want Xbox to... They're doing, in theory, what I wanted, which is I want them to play off their nostalgia. But, like, they're going back to the ones that were big hits, like, still sort of recently. Yeah. Like, I want the original Xbox big hits back.
Me too.
But, like, I want the new Crimson Skies game and things like that. But
well, I think what they've done, too, not to go too wildly off topic, but I think they have Fall on lockdown as far as their franchises. Yeah, we got the racer, we got the shooting game, but like there's 3 other parts of the year, 3 other quarters that you have to worry about. And
that's when Sony doesn't do anything this fall. They're like, there's third parties.
Yeah.
Let them fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't just do something with original Fable and like I said, if you just gotta redo it, just scrap everything, but just take that idea and go for it, or if you got to sort of copy everyone else, but, still have the Fable touch on it, sure. Just give it to me.
All right, let's move into a little bit of Fortnite talk. So Fortnite put out a patch 2.2, which is their biggest patch that they've done. It's basically their first, recode of painting the game. They redid a lot of systems, a lot of things like just the draw distance is different, it loads stuff faster, all that stuff. They went behind the scenes, but the big thing is they redid a lot of the map. They added 5 new areas. Yeah. They added a city, which really changes the value of certain guns, like shotguns and sniper rifles got a big push, and some assault rifles kind of got they're not nerfed literally, but it's just there's a lot more close quarters combat stuff going on.
Yeah, when you say city, I saw it for the first time not too long ago, and it felt really like you were playing Rainbow Six because it was more vertical. And more around corners, and you can be in the middle of a fight, and someone else comes through the door, someone else is coming from upstairs.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell where people are.
So it's a lot different than what people might assume is the standard of running out in an open field, and there's a guy in a bush, and there's a guy.
That's what they wanted to get rid of. They got rid of the open fields. Yeah. They didn't want the areas to... There is an area that is open fields, but that's one little section on the map, and they really wanted all these biomes. All the trees are different. Mm-hmm. There's different varieties of trees and things like that. So they just really spruced up the game, made it look nicer. The grass actually, when you're walking through grass, your animation's a little different. Things like that. The other thing that they did is they turned back on CrossPlay. So we'll see how long this lasts, but as we found out, I think yesterday people were reporting it, you could play with PC players. You can actually party up through PC with PS4 players and Xbox players. So as long as you have a PC player in your group, you can all join up together.
Nice.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
It's funny because I got second place 3 games in a row. And then I found out that this came out. I'm like, I'm just playing PC people who have way more expensive PCs. that's what I'm.
I feel like there's just a guy, I can imagine a control center, and there's just some guy screw it, just hits the button and it activates.
Like the janitor comes in every night and he's like, Just leaves for the night. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's gonna be one of those. Sure, they switch it off because Sony told them to,
Yeah,
sort of thing.
they will.
It sucks because this is what gaming should be at the
We'll
moment.
see. I'm gonna try to play with my Xbox friends tomorrow.
Yeah.
As long as they don't have it shut off by then, and see how it goes, and I will report back. But yeah, we'll see. I don't like playing the PC people, but I'm fine with the Xbox people.
Fair enough.
I blame the PC people.
That game's success, even since last year, has been one of the
40 million players right now.
one of the brighter spots. It's just nice that
They're dropping support for. I forgot they made Paragon. That
Yeah.
MOBA, like realistic MOBA,
Yeah.
which is the complete opposite of Fortnite.
Yeah.
And they're dropping their team from Paragon to do Fortnite because Fortnite's so huge.
And I know it's not all stemming from PUBG, kind of like thumbing their nose at them, being like, "Oh, I guess you're copying what we're doing, huh?"
That was a bad
but
move, man.
yeah, that was one of those.
If they could go back in time.
Shut their mouths and not said anything because their 30 frames per second game isn't exactly rocking right now on consoles.
Yeah,
so.
I'll say. I got my uncapped frame rate on my PS4. It's beautiful. Next up, there's a new Alien game in the works. Alien meaning like Fox Xenomorph Alien. So this is Enter Cold Iron Studios to work on this game. Formed in 2015 by former BioShock, Metroid, and Neverwinter team members. Recently snapped up by interactive publisher Foxnet, and obviously I think they're trying to get all this stuff in before Disney gets them, basically.
Gotcha.
Before the Disney deal goes completely through. To make something new with the Alien license, no firm details have been released. The game will be a shooter, it will be set in the Alien universe, and it will be released on PC and consoles. Notice it says consoles and not Xbox One, PS4, maybe next gen. Cool. I really like... So there's kind of 3 tiers of Alien games.
Mm-hmm.
There is the fun shooters that I actually wish that this was, but it won't be, which was Alien vs. Predator, where you could play as the Marines, the aliens, or the Predators. You ever play that game?
The only Alien games I've ever played are in the arcade. So
Okay. So there is a game. It's a first-person shooter.
I know of the games.
One
yeah.
group is a Marine,
Mhm.
like Marine team, and they all have, typical stuff that you would have in a normal shooter. The other team is Xenomorphs, who can run up the walls and grab people from down below, and they're really fun to control. And the other one was the Predators, who I think there was the least number of them, but they could go invisible. They saw in heat vision, so they knew where people were at all times. And it was just a battle, last man standing, aliens versus Predators versus Marines. That game, a little janky, awesome. Then you have Colonial Marines, which is just a disaster in every way, shape, or form, and that was also a shooter.
It even sounds like a disaster.
And then finally you have the more horror games like Isolation, where that's more like Outlast, not really my style of horror things where you can't like fight back at all, or you feel like they're just on a path and you need to hide from you need to figure out their pattern and just hide. I don't like that type of stuff. But probably, I imagine, successful financially, but definitely had a positive word of mouth. People were like, game went on too long, whatever. People enjoyed that game.
Yeah.
So this is a shooter. So we're not going in the horror direction. We're going in the more, it's either the Alien versus Predator direction or the Colonial Marines direction. So.
Well, just because it's shooter doesn't mean that it's not horror, though. I would really like an Alien VR game.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's very few shooter horror games that I can think of. Like, Fear, I guess. Condemned is a shooter, correct? I haven't played it yet. Condemned.
Can be. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's other ones that like The Suffering is technically a shooter. That's third person, but like
I don't know if any of those ever
things don't
advertise
work.
themselves
Those
as
two
shooters,
things
though.
don't work very well because
Yeah.
then they end up like Resident Evil 6
Sure.
and Resident Evil 5. So I don't know. I don't have too
And
much
4.
to say. I'm not. Well, 4 was okay.
4 did it.
Everybody gives 4 a pass because it did it first, and I'm on that bandwagon.
I like shooter aspects as long as it's there to, once again, like I was talking about with Resident Evil, to make you feel manly and strong and protected, but not like the gun stops working sort of thing, but you have like limited bullets, or you meet something that doesn't really care about getting shot at.
Yeah, that's why I think the Not a Hero DLC did a very good job. It did get shootery towards the end, but like even in the beginning, you're like, oh, I'm mowing down these stuff, and then you shoot at something, and it's like, this isn't affected by bullets. You're like, oh.
So that's why I would hold out hope, because Alien can be pretty scary, especially in VR.
It can. Oh, gosh, if it was in VR. I feel like they would have said it was in VR, though. All right.
Maybe.
Let's move into some questions and comments from last week. We were talking about our 2018 anticipated games. We've got a couple lists here. Let's start with World End, chiming in saying, Shadow of the Colossus Remake is a day one for me. It has a special edition steelbook. Catherine's Full Body is day one, confirmed for the West, but we don't know if it'll come out the same date as Japan. Probably won't. I think it's coming towards the end of the year in Japan as well, so I think we'll get it earlier.
Won't stop me. I've been importing like crazy this week, so...
Valkyria Chronicles 4 is day one. God of War, of course, is day one. I believe it will come out in March. It seems like it's going to be March 22nd. That's the rumor.
Yeah.
Interested to see what special editions it will have.
Well,
statue.
Since then. Yeah.
Statue and a map, like a cloth map that's really cool. It's $150, which is $30 more than I think it needs to be. But it's got the steelbook and some DLC.
Yeah, that's my problem.
I would pull out, like, there's a lot of little things in it that I would pull out and make it 120.
That's what I was getting ready to say, is that there seems to be standard edition, super mega awesome collector's edition now, where I miss the tier of like 4, where it would just be, here's the $60 version, here's the $80 with a steelbook and like soundtrack.
Here's the remote control car with no game.
Got me. But yeah, I want the steelbook for all these things. But
yeah, the steelbooks are sweet. I want that near steelbook so bad, and I will never own that thing. It breaks my heart. Next up, Days Gone is day one for me. The biker gang theme is very interesting to me, and the fact that it is story heavy makes it day one. Those are games that I'm 100% sure. I am not positive Days Gone is coming out this year still. I am very on the fence about that.
I don't know a good spot for it. It's definitely not the first half of the year.
My problem is they're very quiet about when it's coming out, etc., but they've shown quite a bit of the game.
Yeah.
And I don't think they can put it out the same year as Last of Us 2. So, like, that leads me to believe this might be either, like, the early February stuff of 2019, or they might actually put out a November game this year.
I feel like it's backed into a corner right now.
I do, too.
I feel like it's not a dev problem. It's not a game completion problem. It's just, like, where do we stick it sort of thing. Like I said, it cannot be the first half of this year. It won't be E3. It comes out next week. Sort of like
E3,
no.
That's when Red Dead is.
Like no, don't do it.
They got Spider-Man, and I really think they're waiting on Spider-Man for Red Dead.
That pushes it into fall earliest, but we don't know what their fall's going to be. So
we will see. We will see.
And do you really want this game in the fall? This feels like a March game or like a February game.
I'm if I had to mark my flag in the ground, I'd say February 2019. Yeah. But he also says Spider-Man. The fact that Miles and MJ are playable is kind of to me, but still interested in Spider-Man. Code Vein looks interesting, but if it's just an anime Bloodborne, I will pass for now. Might get it when it goes on sale. I completely agree with that statement. Assassin's Creed Rogue Remastered. Not sure who is doing the remastering, but depending on that, I might get it. I know he's a big fan of Bluepoint. Darksiders 3, I played 1 and 2, so I feel obligated to play this one. I'll probably get it when it's on sale. Good list. Zach Yonder also throwing his hat into the ring with Fire Emblem Switch, my second favorite series after Persona. This is a no-brainer. Dragon Quest XI, it's been way too long. Ni no Kuni 2, missed out on the first one, so hyped for this. Getting more excited for Ni no Kuni 2 right here.
Yeah,
no familiars, no Pokemon, all that system's gone. My biggest complaint about Ni no Kuni 1, you're getting me on board, guys. I like it.
Yeah, it's like the carrot on the stick thing, though. It's like, okay, I want Ni no Kuni. Like, they keep pulling it away.
I really do. There's been a lot of talk from multiple people now that I've been listening to that they got a game that's embargoed recently. I think they're all playing Ni no Kuni 2. I really do. I think all the outlets have it right now. So
I'm getting impatient.
If people are starting to talk like on shows that you listen to or whatever about some game that they can't talk about, it might be Ni no Kuni 2.
Yeah, I think they've missed 2 release dates, and I was like,
well, that's what Danganronpa and Persona did.
Yeah.
They pushed their release date, and then they gave the press the games on their original release date.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Ni no Kuni just did.
Well, the worst part about Persona was that a whole like portion of the world was playing it, and I was just like, I can't play.
Next up, Valkyria Chronicles 4. Nothing needs to be said. And with that, something needs to be said. What's Valkyria Chronicles? Is this game I'm missing out on? They both got it on their list. I've never played it. When I hear that name, all I think of is planes. Is there no planes in that game? I don't know what that game is. Do you know it?
I've heard of it so much, but I've never touched it.
So you guys, let me know. Pitch that game to me and try to get me to be interested in it. Because you both have it on your list, and that's enough for me to be like, maybe this is one I should be looking out for.
Oh, it's like, for the most part, it's like military, tactical sort of games, but kind of meets like Japanese sort of. It's
like an Attack on Titan-y thing.
It's a weird mix. No, not Attack on Titan. It's really weird mixture of things, but it works. Obviously, because they've made a bunch at this point, and I think they've always been pretty well received. I'll show it to you later. Okay. It's not something you're interested in.
Okay. Some Switch sports: Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze and The World Ends With You. Totally picking up The World Ends With You. Kingdom Hearts 3 because it's been way too long. Persona dancing games, obviously. Detroit seems very interesting. Shadow of the Colossus, I've never played it, and I'm very excited. You are in for a treat. Those games are phenomenal.
Oh, wow.
The Ico Shadow, Last Guardian games. And BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, Ruby, Persona, BlazBlue, sign me up. Yeah, I learned a little bit more about that DLC stuff, but not too much. I know that the game is not $60. That's what I've gotten out of it.
Yeah. Which is fair. That makes the sting a little, actually, way less.
I assumed it wasn't going to be 60, so you could probably grab it for 30, I'd imagine. Like 40, and then if you have Amazon or Games with Gold or anything, you get $10 off that. So. Cool. So thank you for those comments, and let's move into a question. Are you ready?
Perhaps.
What are some video game gimmicks that didn't catch on that we actually enjoyed? So, something about gimmicks and is that everything's a gimmick unless people end up liking it.
Till it sticks.
And it works, and then it's not a gimmick anymore. Like Rumble, all this stuff. Voice commands, gimmicky. Didn't work as advertised. That's the other thing. As advertised is a big deal, too. I'm sure these HoloLens, gimmick.
Yeah.
As, So, do you have any gimmicks that didn't catch on that you like?
I've got 3, and gimmicks can kind of be used, with quotations. Obviously, you mentioned some very big gimmicks, as in, pouring resources into advertisements, on-stage announcements, trailer, all that stuff. First one I did is I consider the Wii U gamepad and tablet a gimmick. Sure. Obviously, it hasn't been used anywhere else. I really liked it. Coming from games... Still, the idea, I think I would have liked Breath of the Wild way more if it was Wii U exclusive. Yeah, if I had got to play it on Wii U and use the tablet for the menu stuff that I spent hours in. The other game, Tokyo Mirage, used it very well, maybe a little too much. So it wasn't a fact of was it good or not. It was just maybe a little overused because
it was your phone.
People just kept texting over and over, sort of thing. But for those who don't know, sadly, use it as sort of like your phone for the game. So it would be people keeping up with you, or if it's you're in a dungeon and you're going a little too long, or you're going the wrong way, someone will text you hey, where are you at? You're supposed to be going a little bit like Persona,
how you had your phone in Persona, but instead of it popping up and being on your screen, it was a side thing that was actually optional, basically. Mm-hmm. Just on the tablet, it would pop up. So yeah, cool.
And you'd be running around town during the free times and being where do I need to go? I forgot where this person said to meet me. Oh, hey, I told you to meet me at the cafe. Where are you at? It's I need to go to the cafe. So it was just really nice.
Not a bad choice.
And obviously some of the games that didn't make good use of it also had motion controls in it. So I feel the tablet was bad just in association with the motion controls.
I didn't like the build quality of it and stuff like that. But the second screen was good.
Yeah. For the most part, it felt like a really big Game Gear. Yes. So I think it was a good idea, and I think I would like to see a tablet option from all my console games.
I like it. For me, this is my biggest one, because I thought this was the coolest thing ever. I still think it's really cool, and it just didn't catch on, and it was mostly due to 3D TVs. And that was Simulview. Do you know what Simulview is? I thought Simulview was the coolest thing ever. So for people who don't know, basically 3D works in 2 ways. There's passive and active 3D. And passive is your movie theater glasses. Yep. Basically, you put them on, one lens blocks out one thing, the other lens blocks out the other, and then you get 3D. Mm-hmm. Then there's active, which use batteries, and they actually sync with the TV and the frame rate and everything. And they made TVs, specifically Sony. This was a big Sony thing. They made TVs where in split screen mode, it would put one player screen and then overlap the other player screen, and it set the glasses so that instead of being lens A and lens B, it was AA and the other person had BB. Mm-hmm. So when you put it on, it was just a 2D image, but it was the full TV, your screen, and the other person had the full TV, their screen. So you could play with one TV and both have your own thing. And it was
Yeah.
made, they even put out a PlayStation TV, I think it was called, PlayStation Monitor or something, that had this built in, and it was built specifically for dorm rooms, so people wouldn't have to share a teeny TV in dorm rooms. And I always
so people would quit looking at my screen in Halo and killing me.
yeah, so like I always thought this was an awesome
Yeah.
idea. You do need to wear glasses with it, which kind of stinks, but I think that this could have been pitched so much better and really been a cool thing, because that's awesome. Like the idea that you could play, I could play, we share the TV, we both get the full TV, and none of us can cheat is really cool. Now there was definitely problems with it. There was a little bit of like ghosting where you could see a little bit of the other person's screen, and so it's particularly if there's movement and stuff. But if their screens were very similar, like a racing game where it's kind of just track and car and stuff, it was really, really cool.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Or if it's more like a Twitch shooter or like a Halo, something like that, where a second off, like if you're trying to notice, oh, what was that? And then you're dead, sort of thing. So
the problem with it was just 3D TVs like caught on, but they caught on like in the background, and then 4K just totally annihilated them. And then you need to have the ability to make those glasses like AABB, like I was talking about, instead of 2 different lenses, and people just didn't support that. So if you wanted to do it afterwards, you'd have to like modify your glasses and stuff.
Technology's tough, man, especially with how fast it is right now. Like if you take a couple of years to figure something out, I've got a really good idea, like there's something better out already. So you got to be real quick.
Yeah, I always thought that was really cool, though.
Another one that I mentioned, and like I said, I use gimmicks, in quotations, not really too seriously. Celebrity editions of video games, and my biggest poster child of this is 50 Cent Blood on the Sand. I really like seeing just, okay, these guys didn't make it on the big screen, or, maybe they're just not the A-list actors anymore. They're not the Chris Pratts of the world or Jennifer Lawrence. Just some well-known names, just having fun, just doing stupid stuff. It doesn't have to be like a serious game. Obviously, the one I mentioned isn't, but take a formula of like a Grand Theft Auto or a racing game franchise or whatever, Zelda Breath of the Wild if you want to, and just put some stupid stuff in it, like 50 Cent and his gang of dudes, whatever you want to do. But just use kind of like, the people that are showing up on the SNL sort of thing, the people who are funny, get a lot of traction, who would help sell a game. But obviously, make them $20 or something like that.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson in.
I'm just saying. But motion capture is real huge now. You can make them look like the stars and feel like that, and you can just get into it. This one worked because not only did you have just a really stupid plot and setting, but you also had his music. So artists, I don't want to see Taylor Swift Blood on the Sand or anything, but it's cool to have like that full scope of the game too, because then you got his hot beats while you're shooting dudes and stuff like that. And just everything's just dumb about it, the premise, everything, but it was really cool just to kind of get just sort of an offbeat game like that. So celebrity, I don't know what to really call this category, but just celebrity sort of games.
So yeah, games that star celebrities.
Yeah.
I do like Beyond Two Souls and Heavy Rain, so sort of similar. Heavy Rain's not really celebrity.
Put them in situations like that. Screw it. Just have fun with it. Yeah.
Another one for me, and this is one that I've seen people bash on a lot, and that is the Vita's, particularly the back touchpad. There's a lot of stuff in the Vita that I don't like. There's a lot of stuff, like the touchpad on the PS4 I think is fine. Like it's okay.
I like it sounds more than anything.
The sound thing is amazing. But like the light bar on it's just like terrible. But people always bash on Sony particularly for doing that stuff. Like they add unnecessary stuff to their controllers. It makes them more expensive, stuff like that. The back
Pro
touch,
controller.
the back touch on the Vita is genius. Like it lets you use a touchscreen functionality without covering the screen.
Yeah.
And when games used it correctly, it was awesome. When it became a problem is when people were using it as buttons. When it's like, all right, the top of it's R2 and the back is L2 and then the bottom's R3. Like that, that doesn't work very well. But when you used it in a way like Tearaway, where you tap your finger to it and a finger pops out into the 3D world, that's a really cool use of it. It was just, I feel like this was a thing that they added that it's like, if you want to use it, you can. Don't feel like you need to. And then everybody started using it. They're just like, it'll be a button. I was like, that's not good, because sometimes you do that by accident. But the idea of basically a touch screen where you don't need to cover the screen to use it was just really smart to me. And a big part of it is the feedback that you get when you touch it. You need to know where your finger hit without it doing something, basically. And the games that mastered that were really, really good. But yeah, a lot of people hate on that aspect of the Vita a lot, that back touch.
It's very unobtrusive, and
that's not a big deal.
At least the design of it wasn't meant to be like, this is a major gameplay feature, this is the gameplay feature. It's just like, hey, make some cool uses out of it.
Yeah, it was nice, and you just got to play Tearaway. That's the best example of it. It works really, really well. I also think you can use it in Persona Dancing, if I remember correctly, to like do scratching.
Yeah. I think when it crosses that bar or something.
You just kind of swipe on the back, and it does the scratch, so you never need to take your fingers off the buttons.
My third one, smartphone companion apps for video games.
Very similar to the Wii U pad.
Yeah, I think I just want a tablet or like a portable device to use for my games. I think there's been a few games that have used it. Fallout's tried it. Destiny 1 at least had a companion app. There's a couple games that have it, but there's no like necessary use for it. I want it to blur the line between you must use this and hey, you'd really get a lot of use. Yeah. You'd get a lot of use out of this if you needed it, sort of thing. So yeah, for the Persona 5s of the world or for Tokyo Mirage, something like that, like actually let me use my phone and don't send me actual text messages, but yeah, take me to an app that looks like a text message screen. And you just see
that'd be so cool.
You see like messages rolling up, like, oh man, this is awesome. If you want to accept the mission, type in a letter and hit send or something, and boop, there it is on your screen. That would be so sweet. I
like it.
You could also do Tom Clancy games. Seem like they could make a good use out of it, as far as like use it as a mini map would be cool. So you can take that 25% of your screen back and have it up there. You could maybe walk up to a door and I don't know, see like enemies. If you remember the old Rainbow Six games, there you could highlight the door. You could see
like
the thermal.
Cell?
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
You could turn thermal on. And you could see boop boop boop. There's 3 enemies, and you could be like touchpad. If you use that you guys attack these 2 and hit a button or something like that, or just start attacking. They'll shoot enemies A and B.
Commander.
Yeah, sort of like that. It would get rid of the voice commands where you used to be like, okay, on my
Zulu,
shoot alpha, shoot beta, whatever. You don't want to sound stupid, but it would be cool to pull that up and just have something. It's hard to do it in shooters sometimes because like you want it to be constantly active, like Call of Duty. Like you don't have time to sit there and look at your phone. When it's more of like a strategic military sort of thing, it makes sense. When it's like a sandbox game, it makes sense. When it's a linear game, it makes sense. So I think Japan, Switch, whatever, could make a lot of good uses out of it. I think sort of the games I mentioned, the Tom Clancy sort of games of the world could make use out of it. I think PlayStation, it could make very, very good use out of it. They have the sort of technology. I don't think Microsoft would really care to try it, but
yeah, well, they did. They had the Fable Legends was supposed to be that. Like,
yeah, they had their smart glass.
There was supposed to be a dungeon master who set everything up, and then obviously they canceled that game. But that was supposed to have it. Yeah. PlayStation has some stuff like it, like Playroom. You can bring up a drawing board and draw, and then you flick, and it throws the drawing into the world, which is cool. Fun for kids to mess around.
So I don't know necessarily if it hasn't worked yet or if it hasn't caught on, sort of thing. It's just like, I don't know.
It's just an extra step. People talk about VR. They're like, oh, this is too much. I'm like, dude, you plug in one thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally one cord after you set it up that you just plug it. Well,
and you can leave it plugged in, too.
You could, and then just hit the thing. But yeah, I plug in 2 HDMIs and put on the headset, and I'm in,
So this one is
Skyrim.
more along the lines, I think, of no one's even, like, really given an honest effort yet. Everyone's just like, oh, download the app and do the fun thing that doesn't have any particular use in the game.
The Jack Party Box games. Very good with them. Very good.
There you go.
And PlayLink. PlayStation doing the PlayLink
There'd be plenty of cool puzzle sort of games, too, where, I don't know, maybe you're trying to complete the puzzle, but you have to do something on your phone, look back up. Like, I don't know. I feel like you can get a lot of interactive uses out of it that don't tie in specifically into shooters or the games that I mentioned, too. So there's a lot of cool genres that could make use out of it.
All right. What are some video game gimmicks that you enjoyed that maybe others didn't or just didn't catch on? Let us know in the comments down below. Let's end the show with the releases for the week. This is, I think, the first big week. This is kind of the first of 2018.
Finally got games.
There's some big ones. Lost Sphere is coming to
there it is.
Switch, PS4, PC, January 23rd. This is the I Am Setsuna's team's next game. I'm interested in this. I'm going to check it out, as in like see what people think about it. This is not one that I'm going to buy right away, but it might be one I get in the future. It might be one of those buy it backlog instantly games. Next up, The Inpatient for PlayStation VR, coming January 23rd. This is the Until Dawn prequel. Takes place in the insane asylum. You're getting wheeled around. They do cool stuff, like they ask you questions and the choices appear, and you just say the choice, and it naturally interacts. They said it's as branching as Until Dawn. Like, they have that whole butterfly effect going. If you play as a girl, the game's different than if you play as a guy, et cetera, et cetera. I want to report back on this game by next week and we'll give you thoughts and stuff. So we'll see what I can do about that.
Oh, you're gonna get it?
I think so.
Okay.
I've been. So the thing
it's one of those, like, there's no rush to play it.
Here's the thing. I've been out of VR for a little bit. I played the Resident Evil 7 Gold Edition in VR. Went through that, but I hopped out of it for a while, and I was like, And then, long story short, you know the story, but we have a foreign exchange student who's staying near us, and he came over because my sister and everybody, and I showed him VR for the first time, and oh boy, he had a blast. And I was like, man, I need to get back into this VR. He played Super Hot for like hours. He loved Super Hot. So
I got super hot while playing Super Hot.
Yeah, he loved Super Hot. So I was like, man, I should probably get the Inpatient. Next, Iconoclast for PS4, Vita, PC, January 23rd. Don't know that one. 7 Deadly Sins, Knights of Britannia, PS4, January 25th. That is a Netflix anime, right?
Not exclusively, I don't think.
Not?
But yeah, I mean, it's on Netflix.
Yeah. Next up, Dragon Ball FighterZ for PS4, Xbox One, PC, January 26th. And then Monster Hunter World, PS4, Xbox One, January 26th. So those are the big ones.
What a crazy week, yeah.
Those are the big ones. I think we are going to have Dragon Ball FighterZ and Monster. Are we getting Monster Hunter World?
I'm not getting the console version.
Okay.
I'm not I don't. It just feels like a PC game to me, for the most part. And I've got people already lined up to play PC with me. I'm sure. I mean, obviously, you, Kellen, anyone else would. I ought to get it, I guess, but
I didn't like
think
the beta. It just didn't do it for me.
But it's one of those no rush sort. I think people are going to figure some cool stuff out, and by the time I get it on PC, I'll have plenty of guides and videos and stuff like that to watch. Where I feel like I can leap over that skill gap and just kind of get straight into it without
nitty-gritty.
Yeah,
I like it. So that's it for your releases for this week, and that's it for the Press X podcast for this week. Thank you for being here, Nick.
It's felt way faster.
Because it was way faster. And thank you so much for watching. We'll speak with you next time.